conference will now be recorded.
I noticed one over there
Unrecorded.
by Sonic was not working.
When I get ready.
This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you for coming tonight. I'm Roy Vessel, Public Works Director.
Okay.
The QR code that's up there, if you put your camera on it, it'll bring up a website that has some interactive information in it. So if you're interested in following along, later as this process continues, there'll be notices going out for when the next meeting is and what the next meeting will be about and what kind of input we're looking for. So, oh, you want to go back?
Well, I just don't know how to do that, to be honest with you.
Oh,
I'm not.
Just point your camera at it.
you get
Oh, that's right. Where's this camera?
you can just
There.
point at one of the screens and it'll, there you go, hit the bit.ly thing.
Oh, it just captures that code.
Should take you. Yeah. And push. Not so close to the exit. Yeah, I think you went too close to the exit.
Kind of like the one at the library. You got it.
Yeah, but I really got that one I got down somehow. Trust me, if it don't work, we'll just call it good.
There you go.
There it went.
Now you're snapping.
You have to get it right in.
I
Get
don't
it
know.
right in that square.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's an option at the top of that website to sign up for the website,
Okay.
and you get information in there, and it'll send you notifications as things change throughout this whole process that we're going to go through. So we're looking at an update to the 2018 transportation plan, and as part of that effort, we're adding a section that wasn't previously included, and that's maintenance of the streets. Now, the transportation overview, it includes everything with the roadway network, designating interest in the regional transit services, pedestrian facilities, bicycle, recreation trails, and the last section is maintenance, and that's what we're covering today. So maintenance, the statement that we want to include is that we also recognize the importance of preserving our transportation facilities to extend the life and maintain transportation for future use. That takes many factors into account. Our overall roadway network, this is the current map from 2018 plan. Since then, we've expanded a little bit farther north to County Road 24. We're still east and west about the same of our planning area and what we're looking at in the south end. So that will all get updated with the 2025 comprehensive plan, which is also underway through planning. So where have we come, or how far have we come in recent years? In 2011, the city encompassed almost 7.5 square miles. And the blue is basically where the city was in 2011. 39 total miles, and the HUTF is the Highway User Tax Fund, which will get a little bit more explanation. We get funds from the state for that. And in 2024, we had 13.8 square miles. So that's about 85% growth in area. And also along with that, we've grown 77 lane miles. And a lane mile is basically each street is 2 lanes. And so half of that is our total street length. So that's a 97% growth just in streets being added. So you can kind of see through the years how our streets, and obviously as our streets increase in number and length, our costs are going to increase as well, and the effort required to keep up. So on the financial side, funding for our streets come from several places. The street sales tax, the highway user tax fund, which is from the state, street assessment fees, which come with building permits, and potential grants and bonds. We take a look at this whole process at the historical, what we spent in the past, what we need to spend in the future, projecting our growth, and we take a look at the overall cash flow, which is this is representing how much we're spending. The green line is the key on how much we have available to work with, and we've projected this out, where it starts going flatline, that's where we're projecting a steady 4% growth, which kind of would indicate like an increase in the taxes and things that happen with more people coming in. So on the funding side, the bulk of our funding for the street program comes from the street sales tax. That was voted on 20, 30 years ago by the city residents. It's a 0.5% sales tax. So every time you go to Safeway, jails, that's part of the sales tax that gets added on. That funding is population based. Obviously, as the population increases, more people are spending money in town. And it's kind of also economy related. As the economy tanks, people don't spend as much money, and then that tax revenue takes a hit. The highway user tax fund is state. They have a magic formula, and I kid you not, it's a magic formula. They take into account the number of vehicles registered in our city, and then the number of lane miles, which we discussed as increasing, the lane miles of paved roads that we have, and it's an annual report. We update that to them every year. It's somewhat population based because as we grow and population grows, we got more drivers, so we get a little bit more funding. So you can kind of see how our funding has kind of varied through the years. And then our projection of the 4% kind of growth rate. We also get funding from street assessment. This is with a building permit. For commercial buildings, it's a 2% of the construction value is a fee that's assessed to the builder, and that goes into the tax, the street fund. It's also an $860 flat rate for a residential house that goes in. There's a permit fee for that that goes into it. That's economy and growth dependent. So as the builders are more motivated to build, to see the growth potential, then that income can increase. We also have roadway maintenance agreements with Lake Burnco, LGI, Everest, the gravel pits. They use our streets, and we assess a fee for the use based on the number of loads they have going across the length of the road that they're going on. So we do get some of that money from there. So in our budget and overall look, we're going to take a look at the historic, where we've been, the economic impacts that we've had. You can really see in the graph kind of some of the hits. Here in 2018, 2020, our income from the sales tax was kind of jumpy. At that time, the city kind of pulled back and held off on doing the project, so we didn't spend as much to try and balance, so we didn't get hurt. And then as things started picking up there in 22, we had a couple big projects, spent that. Obviously, we had some funds so that our overall fund balance went down as we spent. And then the income really kicked up in 24 and projecting for what we're going to spend and going into the future. So we take a look at that cash flow analysis. We have to maintain by Tabor a reserve for the city of 3% of our fiscal year spending. So on the transportation side, with our street sales tax fund, annually we have about a $2 to $4 million budget. So we have to maintain a reserve of $120,000. So that's where we're projecting down here how much we're going to spend, how much is going to come in, how far this is going to go, and we don't want to go below 120. So with our facilities plan, we take a look at all the existing roadways that we have. We evaluate all of them based on several criteria. We take a look at accident history. This helps us to look at and prioritize which projects we can do. Now, these other items that aren't highlighted, the trip generation, projecting traffic volumes, this is all done by a traffic engineer. We have a consultant that's doing that part. We'll have a separate meeting entirely on that. And then overall, we have the needs assessment. What do we need? What do we have to do? What kind of needs do we have? How do we grade our streets? We have all of our streets in a spreadsheet. And we grade them based on the number of cracks in the pavement, the utility patches that occurred where, that kind of hurts the pavement a little bit. Settlement, any kind of dips, settling that's happening. We evaluate each road, alligator and crack, where it's kind of, all shelled out and cracking through. How many patches are in there? We add those all up, those scores, and then these are the worst of the worst of what we currently have. What I just pulled the top of the list off of there. So these are the streets that we deem currently as having a higher priority of what we need to work on to fix. And that's how we evaluate and rate them all. Overall, when you add up all our streets, all the evaluation things, overall, and divide by the number of miles we have a 3.04 rating, which is kind of fair, not too bad, but I think we can be better, and we definitely need to address the high impact ones. And that's over the whole 77 lane miles that we have. Then we're going to look at accident history. Obviously, we want to pay attention to places where we're having extreme accidents. Is there something safer we can do, something we can build to make it better to prevent? Overall, the city's not that bad, although I will say even one loss is pretty bad. Now, this is from the state website, and documented accidents and fatal crashes and fatalities, serious injuries from I believe it's 2011 to 2025, 24.
25.
Yeah, 25. And overall, it's not bad. When you look at our statistics, though, internally for where these are happening, primarily they're happening on US 85 and 52. So this actually plays a big part in potential grants that we can get. Most of the funding from CDOT, when grants and the federal come out, it's accident-based. What can be done to improve the situation to avoid those accidents? So we take a look at all that. And then we generate all this information to an improvements plan. What are we going to do? How are we going to spend our money? The things we're going to highlight today is our pavement management program, and that's basically preserving what we have so it doesn't deteriorate worse. I'm going to discuss how we prioritize the projects, and then street improvements that we do and need to do, and then we're also going to take a look at unpaved roads and what we currently do and what the costs are and impacts. The rest will be on railroad crossing, bridges, and sidewalks, 2 different additional meetings to come to. We'll have one focus specifically on the bridges and railroad crossings, and then one specifically on everything pedestrian, ADA, sidewalks, street crossings, traffic calming, things like that. The pavement management program. Every pavement has a life, basically. And it's estimated, and basically it runs pretty consistent. 20 years is the life. Once you put it down, clock starts ticking, and that pavement, this is when we first put it down, it slowly degrades. It's slowly drying out. It starts getting some cracks. And then the life of it really starts to accelerate decreasingly. So the idea of the pavement management system is to preserve it before it gets bad. Our goal is to maintain a pavement in fair condition throughout its life. And that saves us money in the long run. For instance, right here, we would do a crack seal and a slurry seal project to seal back up the surface, prevent the cracks from infiltrating water, which really deteriorates things faster. And then the life goes back up again. And it does fall a little bit quicker because that's not structurally as strong. But if we can keep doing that and doing inexpensive slurry seals, that keeps popping it up, and we keep doing that. And it's less expensive to do up here, which is kind of what's up here. Just doing crack sealing on average, about $2 a square yard. And if you wait until it goes past the fair value, then it's going to be about 4. It doubles the cost to do something to get and you don't quite get as good remaining life to it. Whereas if you wait until it's really shot, to reconstruct it, it's like 16 bucks a square yard. So the idea is spend the money early, a little bit at a time, extend that life until, just keep extending it. That's the pavement management program. So with our 77 lane miles that we currently have, and basically we project and plan to do these methods every 7 years on the different pavements. So if we split that 77 miles into 7, that's 11 lane miles a year that we need to seal coat to keep up and stay even and save us money down the long run. Now that list that was up there earlier, they're kind of past that. So we have to be selective where we do. But basically the cost of doing that in today's dollars, what we contracted for this year, the part that we did, would equal, excuse me, $285,800 a year. How do we prioritize the streets we want to go at? I prefer that we take a subjective look, objective, at all these factors and not have somebody subjectively decide my street needs it. Everybody's going to say my street needs it, but we have to look at the worst of the worst, prioritize where we're going. So considerations we take into account are urgency, the budget, available funds, the cost to the city, and those are different costs, not just the expense to fix it or do it, but what's the cost of delaying it? I mean, obviously every year that you wait to do it, the cost of everything keeps increasing. So manpower, what's our manpower and ability to do things in-house, and then our schedule and what we're able to handle with the crew that we have or the staff that we have. And basically we prioritize everything. I know this is kind of hard to read, but the most critical thing is life safety. So anytime life safety is involved, we're talking red. That's in column A here. The immediate threat to health safety consideration. And then it decreases in severity and how long can we put that off and not do it and spend our money where it's most effective, basically. And then on our once we have the projects all picked out, so we'll take that list of the worst, we're going to weighted average on and evaluate each of these factors. The health safety is a 30% value of the total score. It gets 3 points if it's an immediate danger or it's a high accident rate. 2 points if it's a potential danger, moderate accidents, and if there's no dangers, then it only gets 1 point. The level of service, that's how much the street is serving at its optimum, is a level of service. The traffic engineer handles that evaluation. The service disruption, what's the impact on the road in terms of people getting around, essentially? Like if it's a local neighborhood street, it's not impacting a whole lot. Yeah, there is some impact, but if it's, say, Denver Avenue or Raleigh, a lot of folks come through those. Those are collector streets, so that's a lot more impact. Regulatory and compliance, is there a legal requirement for us to do something? Obviously, if there's a regulation that says thou shalt, we shall. So it gets 3 points for that. If it's just a recommended action, it only gets 2 points and gets added in. The cost implications, it's like if we delay the cost of this reconstruction, how much is that going to increase next year or the year after that if we keep delaying it? If it's just a moderate cost of delay, it gets 2 points. Public support, here's the key where we're asking help. It's basically a voting, and the tool will be on that website that we just did. If we get half the population, and obviously we're not going to get the whole population on the website, but if we get a representative group and take the percentage of what that is of our total population, we'll kind of assume you represent that many folks for the voting. So if we get half the population supports that particular project, that gets the full 3 points. A quarter of the population 2, and if it's 10 or less, then it just gets a 1 point. And then how many problems do we address with the project? Not just making the street smooth, but do we fix drainage? Does the project address another utility that needs to be replaced, that we can encompass all that at the same time? And that all plays a factor. So all those points get multiplied by the weighted average and all added up, and then the high score wins in priority for how we're going to work on it. Unpaved streets. One of our favorite topics. We currently have 16.32 miles of unpaved roads. We're going to cover our maintenance plan that we currently have, discuss a little bit of dust control, and also looking at total costs of what we do on a regular basis. So our maintenance plan, our current resources with the city, we have 3 dedicated transportation maintenance workers. We have 1 motor grader. In 2020, when we purchased it, it was $198,000. That has gone up significantly since that time. So when it's time to replace it, we have to budget for that as well. We have 2 dump trucks currently. Well, actually 1 really functional and 1 on its way. We purchased 1 in 2025 and we spent $346. Just in 4 years, look at it. And this is the same freaking truck. Now, there are some bells and whistles on the truck because it's not just a dump truck. We also use it for snow plowing and sanding. So it's kind of a multi-purpose vehicle for us. But those are the major equipment that we use. Then we also contract out some grading operations with a local contractor. And that's costing us roughly $60,000 per year currently. And he also helps us with some snow removal assistance. So our gravel roads, we started a proactive program in 24. Rather than trying to be reactive every time we get a phone call that I've got a bump on the road or it's really gotten bad, we want to get there before it gets really bad. But realizing we can't do it every week. It does take time. It does take a commitment. And it does take money to do it, to get out there and grade, smooth out the washboards and stuff. So we schedule for every 3 weeks on a schedule to be out and hit every dirt road every 3 weeks. And we post the schedule on the city website so everybody knows when it's coming, if they'll look. But you can see where they all are. The contracted parts we do on the north side, and then we do in-house on the south side of 52 primarily. Unpaved roads have a dust problem. Dust control is a challenge. It's a dirt road. It does raise some dust. The common process of reducing that dust is to spray a magnesium chloride salt solution on it. What that does, and we did that last in 2020, we tried it because the county had several places that looked pretty spanking good. And I thought, okay, let's do that. We tried it on all of our roads. The problem we found is that mag chloride, it actually makes a little crust on the top, which is what seals the dust in. As soon as that crust pops or breaks, a pothole starts. The rest of the road that's still staying solid, you can't bite a blade into. It just skips right across. And if it's been sprayed on like the washboards, then you can't knock the washboards down. So we have stopped doing that. Unfortunately, it did cost us $60,000 in 2020 to do that for the material and spraying. It just reduces the maintainability. The roads that we inherited from the county, they have a process, they have a lot more people, they have a lot heavier equipment, and their process with dirt roads tends to be, they chew it all up, they spray a super duty mag chloride in it, and they compact it down. It almost makes it like pavement. But as soon as it starts popping out and potholes and the washboards, it takes a Herculean effort to even get them, and we've worn down several blades doing that. So our schedule, here's a what if, because we still get phone calls, and the 3 weeks seems to be, for us, operationally optimal. We've had requests for more. So if, and the impact of that, currently we do it every 3 weeks. You can do 2 miles a day, so it takes 8 days to get through the total 16 miles. And of course, we contract out 9 miles of that at a cost of $60,000. If we increase that to every 2 weeks, that would be 26 times per year, 208 man days per year, and the cost it would increase to 92,000. And then that would again increase about another 30,000 if we did it every week. I mean, basically, you'd be running nonstop because it takes 8 days to get through all of them. So that's just the implications and the why. But this is what we fight. This is our favorite, County Road 21. The blades you see on the left, the top one was when it was new with the teeth. These are special heavy-duty carbide steel, I think, that are intended to dig in and scrape this and cut it. That's what it grinds it down to after 6 months.
Probably less.
Probably
That's a
less.
little washboard.
Yeah. I mean, it just eats them up. And we've tried other blades and a thing called a stinger, and it's just, it is, when they're packed like that. How do they get that way? Well, the surface, the distress, like the washboarding, like the picture we saw where it takes the little rubbles, the ruts, potholes, it's an indication of a loss of the roadbed stability and strength. The primary cause, obviously, is a poor subgrade, probably a lot of clayey soil, doesn't help, or a lot of sand. You know, it's a good mix that you really want in there to keep it stable. Bad drainage. If the road doesn't stay crowned and the rain doesn't shed off of it to a borrow ditch and then convey away, it's going to pond there, soak it in, and then make them rush. So, ironically, too much water and not enough water are the detriment of a dirt road. You do want a little bit of rain on it because that keeps the dust down, and it also keeps the soil moist, so it's kind of clingy and holds to itself. So, and it obviously it's exacerbated by heavy truck traffic. So any place where the trucks are coming, we try to designate our dirt roads as non-truck. We can't preclude them, and a lot of times some of the truck traffic is the farming, tillage and stuff like that. So that's what makes it the way it is. When the traffic on a dirt road becomes a 200 average daily trips, that's when we're required to have some type of a dust control product. Part of this whole study analysis is taking a look at all of our traffic counts. So we'll be looking at the traffic counts of how much our dirt roads are being used on the average daily basis to see if we have to implement. And that's a federal regulation. So far, we believe we're falling mostly under that on an average annual basis. And I know there are times when you probably see a lot of them out there. So our options on gravel roads. We've proposed before to go in similar to what the county does. Basically, BOMAG, and that's a big old rototiller, is what it is. It just digs in and chews and mixes everything up as it goes through. Apply a cement treatment of fly ash or lime to stabilize the clays and the soil fines, and that almost sets up like a concrete, not strong as concrete, but it does help hold everything together. And then reshaping it to keep that crown and keep the drainage ditch, and then placing a 4-inch layer of gravel, which is a county spec road base. It's not a true loose gravel. It's a mixture of different sizes, and that becomes a road bed that we can maintain. We can always blade and keep it scooped up. Cost of that, we found out this year, is $311,650 per mile. And just doing it to one wouldn't quite be fair, but we could prioritize or how we wanted to do it. It would be possible, but the total 16 miles that we have would cost us $5 million just to stable and rebase and rebuild. The other option is always pave the damn road, excuse me. I mean, that's the ultimate solution. But again, who's going to help pay for it? Because there aren't a lot of residents on most of them. And most of them that we have are county residents. And I'm sure they're not going to be happy spending money on these things. And there are folks that like the dirt road atmosphere, the whole aesthetics. But the cost to repave all 16 miles that we have would be $32,762,000, or roughly $2 million a mile is what it costs. Now that does include not just paving, because we have to do the part of the reconstruct first to stabilize that base and then pave it, but also the drainage structures. Any place there's a culvert, we have to upsize it or bring it up to standards. Things like that. So some of that cost is ancillary to the actual paving. But that's our current estimate, and I'm sure that's about 2 years old, so.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah. So on our budget, currently we budget $200,000 for concrete repairs. That's our sidewalks, curb and gutter, all the concrete, the cross pans in the road. I'm sure driving around, you see a lot of crunched up concrete. A lot of our concrete is over 20 years old. I'm sure you're aware. So we do budget that every year on small projects. We have to be picky where we put that because some of them, yeah, we can replace that stone. But if that area is kind of depressed and everything's, and the reason why that stone is broken and compressed because it's been draining that way and no place to go, then it's hard to make sure everything goes where it's going to go. So little pieces can be more problem than doing the whole street. And if there's enough of those, we'll put it off until we reconstruct the whole street because that's just more effective and efficient. Our asphalt repairs and our crack seal and slurry seal, we're currently budgeting $1 million a year out of our budget. We've been slowly increasing the amount of slurry seal we put down and the crack seal, sealing up the cracks. Many of our roads are kind of past the point of no return. So you may see many that are crunched up currently. One good example is Mountain View, I believe it is, over off of 9th Street. It kind of goes to a dead end over by the apartments. That one it's just so alligator stuff. It's beyond that. Yeah. Fortunately, it's got a fairly stable base to it where those chunks are not flying out and causing. So that actually a low traffic area, we can kind of put it off and hopefully put it on the developer when that extends.
Right.
And then reconstruction, we currently have on that list you saw of the worst earlier, worst of the worst, there's 3.5 miles of roadway. So that's 7 lane miles basically that we've got projected at a current project cost of $14 million roughly. So that's a part, and that's another meeting altogether where we start prioritizing each of those actual projects as opposed to this overall maintenance effort. And with our street sales fund budget, in general, this is an exercise. This is the same website that was earlier. There's an exercise on there where you've got a budget of $2.5 million to spend, and then you can slide how much you spend for sidewalk repair, major street, and then the crack seal, how much per year. It'll tell you when you run out of money, and then you got to go move one back to cover the rest of them. But there are a total of five type topics which will be discussed. You know, the crack seal slurry, asphalt repairs, the concrete repairs, and major street projects, and then the unpaved projects or unpaved streets have been thrown there. How much of our $2.5 million per year do we allocate each place? So that's an exercise you can do later. This is our current 2026 budget that we just submitted and approved. And basically the highlighted part, I wanted to highlight because that's the part that's affected by what we're talking about tonight. Our concrete curb and gutter sidewalks. We have been, it's been up. We used to, when I first got here, we were only budgeting 75,000. We were able to knock out quite a bit. And then council 2 years ago said, we need to spend a little bit more. So we upped it to 100,000. And then 2 years ago, they said, no, let's go full bore. We're kind of caught up on our list, but our list grows every year. Somebody points out, this is really spalling, this one's broken, and then try to evaluate, okay, can we repair this without monkeying with the drainage, or can we fix it without, in a way that won't be tore up later? But that's kind of basically where we're currently looking at. Everything after 2026 will be up to auction or to discussion at the next meeting that we talk about the major street projects. But we're currently looking at County Road 12 with the railroad crossing. We've been trying this for 2 years. Union Pacific is fun to work with. But we're basically, we're picking up where the flats there on County Road 12 ended. We're going to extend that widening across the tracks and over to Lupton Village, the townhomes that are there where they left off. We're going to connect that with sidewalk, curb and gutter, the extra lane. We're not doing anything on the south. I have to deal with landowners that are not friendly to me. So, but that'll all include, and it's going to be an arm crossing.
Should be.
Yep. And then we're also got a project in the mill right now for 9th Street in Norfolk, where we're replacing the Fulton Ditch Bridge, widening that to the four lanes that we have on the east side, and bringing that up to Northrop, where it then comes down to the 2 lanes that we have going towards Twombly. So that's all in the works. Also extension of the trail that's there. 6th Street. This has been kind of long festering. It's a drainage issue we're also fixing. We upgraded on 6th Street from McKinley to Fulton many moons ago. We upgraded the storm sewer that's there. Unfortunately, it's a smaller storm sewer after that to the west. So now we're going to pick it up from Fulton, go all the way to Grand, and get that all working right. And then 5th Street the following year, what we're looking at, but those are all what we're kind of tackling as we go. And we've projected this out, and you notice the spending for like next year is like 2.7, and then the year after that, we're kind of anticipating chewing up. If you remember the green line, the green line's got to come down a bit, so we won't have as much to spend. But the funds that are there is for the engineering design. For the following year, and then again 2.8 to spend in 28, and all of this will be adjusted and jockeyed depending upon community priorities and how we want to do this. So, how can you help? That again is a QR code. Actually, that QR code will take you to our city website, where the transportation plan has its own webpage. We'll keep the schedule updated there. And then also on the Engage website, which is the first one that you downloaded, there'll be currently on that Engage website, there's a map. You can drop pins for a sidewalk problem that hasn't been addressed or you want addressed, a street spot that's worse and worse and you think nobody's noticed, things like that. There's three choices in there for this particular one. There will be additional maps put on to try and help prioritize streets and highlighting the ones that are the worst of the worst, and voting on them, basically find out how much support we've got. Ranking. There will be recordings of meetings. This meeting, the first meeting, which was in September, I believe, the recording's already up there. So if you think you missed some information, it's only an hour.
That's not bad.
Unfortunately, it's me again. But, and then we'll have an updated schedule. Currently, we're looking at probably January to have everything pedestrian, crosswalks, sidewalks, trails, bikes, things like that, and the interaction with the roadways, crossings and things like that. February, March, I believe we're looking at the, either overall projects, or if my consultant engineer has his part and planning department has their comprehensive plan far enough along that he can finish his, we'll have his presentation. And then one more in April, May for the roads or the bridges and railroad crossings. Big input need, because railroad crossings to go quiet, everybody seems to like that idea. I don't disagree. There are pros and cons. I've been told if you go quiet and you have an accident, they take away the quiet zone. And this is after spending about $1 million a crossing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we don't have them right now, but as our design for the County Road 12 crossing is in compliance with the quiet zone. So when we want it to go quiet, we've got the median in place, we've got the arms and everything that's required to block traffic from doing that. So it's just a lot of extra effort and study that needs to happen to make Union Pacific happy. And then by all means, please share it with your neighbors. Share that website, get them involved, point them to the website, to the recordings. We really want as much input as we can, and everything helps. And with that, any questions? See, this is shorter than last time, isn't it? Less than an hour.
That's good. That's good. Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
It's regarding the famous Barley Avenue / County Road 16.
Yeah.
And I've been told, I don't know how many times, that's city. No, it's county. No, it's city. It's
ours.
county. So when I call Public Works up in Greeley and got a hold of Cameron Parrott, and I talked to Raph, and he said, call me back. Let me know how it goes. No, that's city. That's city. So now we know it's a city street.
It is a city, yeah.
This has been conflicting. We live out there. I live off of Barley and Richard. Lived there a long time. And some of us are very deeply concerned about the speedway. I know Vandermeer might come in, but I think these guys are beating them to it. It's horrible. It's horrible the way people are speeding. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous. So I just need to ask if you guys would take a closer look at that area. Maybe think about putting in a couple of bus stop signs. Those kids that get picked up, they don't have sidewalks. The bus has to stop, pick up the kids, drop the kids off. That is a bus route for our school district. I've been in touch with a Lieutenant Dan Monares. I talked to him the other day and called me back today, and he said, we were out there last week and we got tickets. But that's not the point. You know, you're not going to get that much revenue. I've talked to Deputy Sherman with Well County Sheriffs. He says, we're trying to help them out. They do patrol out there, by the way. The problem is, now that we know for sure that that's a city street, would it work to maybe have a little traffic study or a road count just to see what's really happening, because it's getting pretty bad. Speeding is bad. I'm not talking about 50 miles an hour, it's supposed to 45. In the past, we would say, is Jose Reyes still with the city? Is he still with the city?
No.
Everybody would say, well, call Jose if you want that pothole fixed there by Harold, call, and he'd come. Man, he was there in a heartbeat, Cole Patrick or whatever. So we never know who to call anymore anyway when it comes to a problem. That is a very dangerous road. Very, very dangerous. So I don't know, maybe you guys would take a closer look at it and see what priority would it come into. There's a street sign missing, Patrick.
Yeah, mine's been missing for over a year.
Patrick is missing, and some say.
The street signs won't be ours.
See, that's
So,
county.
see-
I told you,
Yeah, so how does that do county?
the twilight
Is it
zone.
because it's on that side of the road?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll call Rafe back tomorrow and say, hey, do you have a Patrick Street sign?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is a big thing, speeding,
Right.
really. Okay, and I have,
Definitely,
Yeah,
well,
speeding
definitely
is-
have our-
We had an ordeal out there
this happened out there.
with
This,
our group that, this guy posted it. Supposedly, either rented equipment, had somebody do it, but they monitored them going from, what was it,
55 to
to
108.
108.
And it's, and
And
that's
you can
what
hear
they
it,
do.
so it's a driveway,
Yeah,
because I
it's
can hear it.
very dangerous. So the deputy said, and I talked to Matt Turner, I mean, it's like, my God. The deputy said that we're watching it, and thank God, somebody from the Fort Lupton PD came out and looked at it and said, yeah. He called me today, he says, yeah, we wrote tickets, but even showing up once a week, even the presence of being out there and saying, this has to stop, what's going on. But we printed off, this come off a local Facebook group, Aristocrat. We're not all rednecks, we're not all bad out there. And
We're
if
just in the
you would
twilight
give this
zone.
to Chief Carnes, or give it, or you read it, or give it to somebody that can say, wow, this is the mindset.
Well,
of
there
somebody.
was one, the first one that was a threatening, and actually I reported it to our admin. She pulled it down before it got any comments. And
You
they
didn't
threw
read it.
shavings out.
Yeah.
And they caused
just like-
some flat tires, but
This is
I
a s-
couldn't get them
if this
documented,
is-
so I just,
This
I'm
is a
not gonna.
city avenue street, and the safety issue out there is just incredible.
But the Twilight Zone's doing that.
That's what I call it. We're in the twilight zone. So if anybody wants this,
Yeah, I'll take it.
take it, pass it on to whoever needs to see that. That's gonna give you an idea. Matt Turner, by the way, has a copy too, because another party out there made sure
But
that
she sent it.
that he knows what's going on. In Will County Sheriff, they've been awesome. They have been incredible about coming out and watching that road and watching the situation. I know that, does Barley go to the very end where the barricades are, where the dirt
Where
is?
the dirt is all full
Yeah.
down.
Yeah,
It's the
Yeah.
full length.
we call it County Road 16.
Well, yeah, that's what I
I
call,
know.
but there's a sign up. Now, there's two different signs on that street. Which
At
one
30
was it?
16
The 16 and
Barley.
Barley, you'll see one on one of the street signs
Yeah.
that's like, okay.
I went to the Cocoa Coffee with the cops thing at a copper kettle, and one of the council members said that this meeting was going to happen, to come and talk about it, but, I think would that be something that the city could help with, putting a school bus stop sign? I mean, is that
Or what
doable?
meeting does that come up that
I
we
mean,
can?
what department, who do you go
Yeah,
to with
I
that?
think that could fall under the pedestrian, the next one
Okay, the
in
next one.
January,
Okay.
where
Okay.
we talk
So we-
about
we can
measures
do
and
that.
Yeah,
crosswalks.
because
In
that-
January.
That's important for all those things. These are safety issues. This is called preventative maintenance.
Yeah.
But the speeding thing,
That's just a
it's
challenge.
just a matter of time, and
Yeah.
there's what? 10 officers? I mean, there's not enough to go around.
There is.
It's a challenge, not just there.
Yeah, it's
I
a
know.
challenge
We've
everywhere.
got.
I know.
I heard him on 9th Street.
Yeah.
Oh, this
Ninth
is
Street,
bad.
and apparently I created one when we paved
Yeah.
South Raleigh from.
Yeah.
I
8 to
tell you,
10.
what the
Well,
problem
that's what
is,
they're saying. Well, it's a paved road. It doesn't need to be just 45. It's like, you're in
after you read
residential.
that, you're gonna
Give me
see
a break.
there's people that come out of, they turn off of 31. What's that first one? Harold, Richard, Henry, Hart, goes all the way down. There's people coming out, and it's horrible. Sometimes the traffic's backed up. I had somebody pass me the other day,
Yeah.
put me over on the side and the shoulder, past Harold. I was going 45, trying to get up to Richard, put my blinker on, 3 of them going. You couldn't even, I mean, I think they were chasing each other. And I thought, wow, are you kidding? Sometimes it's safer to turn on to 31 and go up and take a back street to avoid getting rear-ended on Barley. We got rear-ended back there years ago. I mean, it's bad. So I don't know, when I went and talked to all these different departments, they would say, that's city. Well, no, they said it's Will County. No, it's city. So what's the city gonna do if the amphitheater ever goes through? What are you guys gonna do? I mean, That's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the gun range, is that ever gonna happen? I was disappointed. I was hoping it would go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Is it good?
still kind of out there as a dream, but
Is it still on, I've been to all those meetings and mayors always say, we don't know about that. Is it still gonna happen?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because how would they get to it and how would they get out of there? Probably
Primary,
Barley Avenue.
primary 9th. 'Cause
Mm.
the current gun range site is adjacent to 52.
Yeah.
I know the original one was back there at the state.
Yep.
State land, but
Yep.
now it's like 35
35,
to
Yep.
the solar farm.
right.
And
See,
Yeah.
35 doesn't come off.
52 to 9th Street.
Yeah.
And 35 doesn't come off of 52.
35 doesn't go north.
There's like that twilight zone.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's why we're here. But thank you, that was a wonderful presentation.
Yes.
I learned a lot. Thank you. Is there money, do you think there's enough money to go around for all this expansion?
If we get, well, see, that's the key, as the development comes, the
The
mantra is
development fee.
development will pay its way.
It's way.
Right,
So a lot of my dirt roads, like in the last 2 years, I've gotten paved roughly 2 miles
okay,
of roads. And I've got another half mile getting ready to get paved by one of them. And then another half mile for County Road 12, going a little bit farther east.
Yeah.
Those are all kind of pending,
uh-huh.
but as the development happens, that's the best way for me, cheapest way to get them paved.
You're gonna see in some of those comments that, well, it doesn't do any good, they won't do anything. Well, if you don't ask or be diplomatic and you don't say, look, this is a problem out there, then I guess you can't do anything if you don't know.
And
You know,
that's a lot of what the website is.
Yeah.
A lot of it is,
There are
yeah.
places to input, just
That's what I'm
putting
doing.
down some notes.
You know, when we got blocked off into our twilight zone out there, when they were doing the culvert by the coaching plant, it was like the detour was like, oh my God, why are people griping? We go down that little dirt road and go down and turn. Why not just go down to 16 and quit griping about it because it's faster? But I know there was a lot of drama over that because people had to detour. And I thought, wow, that was incredible. That kind of put us right off the map when all that happened. But it was doable. But what happened was it increased the traffic flow of people that were really angry. And
Yeah.
they'd come down 16 and they'd head east and man, they'd step on it because they're mad. And then they go down, they'd head west and they'd step on it because they got detoured and they're mad. They're so mad at the city.
Yeah.
We're doing that to them. I thought,
Cool, yeah.
well, okay.
Yeah, right out there
That's like-
by the.
Power plant.
Yeah, by the power plant, they had to do that culvert.
Yeah, they had to detour.
Oh, that one, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I know.
We,
Yeah.
we detoured, so
Tri-state.
we couldn't go down 31.
Tri-state,
We couldn't get
yeah.
to 52.
Yeah.
Couldn't get to 52. And I thought, wow, well, you know, you have to fix it. How are you going to fix the culvert if you've got traffic coming and going?
You can't.
You can't. So anyway. so
That's
yeah.
okay, we had fun with it.
Yeah, I'm saying, you make it work.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, pass that on to whoever. Maybe the lieutenant that was kind enough to call me today.
Yeah, well,
He would,
yeah, because most of that sounds like I don't want to shove it off on him, but
No,
kind of more enforcement than what I can
Yep.
do with a
On that.
design.
see,
Although,
right,
although don't get me wrong, I know I've got some big cracks here, and I've been watching them and trying to get them on the list.
right.
One thing I
right.
can see that would be good was to have it where it's safer for the kids getting on and off this bus.
But
And
that,
having a bus stop sign would really help.
so that'll be in January.
We're-
Now, would that be?
Right,
We're
would that-
looking, yeah, we're looking at several options, and that's
Okay.
kind of what I want input on choosing, because, and are we cut off? Because this is into the next one.